Imagine watching your bus pull away and realizing much later that missing it was the best thing that ever happened to you. Sarah Martinez, single mom, school counselor, queen of color-coded calendars, thought she knew exactly what her life was supposed to look like. The universe disagreed, and its alternate plan arrived wrapped in a yellow Volkswagen van, paint-stained hands, and a smile that would rearrange everything. Before we get into this story of unexpected love and rediscovering yourself, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The number 42 bus turned the corner and vanished, taillights blinking like a punchline. Sarah sagged at the empty curb, work bag digging into her shoulder. Perfect, she muttered. Just perfect. The morning air was crisp, carrying the smell of espresso from the cafe down the block. People streamed past her with purpose, coffee in hand, earbuds in, eyes forward. Everyone seemed to know where they were going and exactly when they'd get there. Everyone except her. She glanced at her watch, then pulled out her phone, doing mental math with shaking fingers. If she ordered an Uber now, she'd still be at least 20 minutes late for the parent-teacher conference she'd already rescheduled twice. Mrs. Henderson would give her that look again. The one that screamed irresponsible single mother without a word. Her chest tightened. The familiar heaviness of not quite measuring up settled over her like a wet blanket. "Excuse me, are you okay?" The voice was warm, musical, with a faint accent Sarah couldn't place. She turned. A woman her age stood beside a vintage yellow Volkswagen van. Wild curls caught the sunlight like spun gold. Her long bohemian dress was splattered with paint in a way that looked deliberate, not careless. "I saw you missed the bus," the woman said, smiling without reservation. "I'm Aurora. You look like someone who could use a ride." Every warning Sarah had ever given her daughter flashed through her mind. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in cars with people you don't know. Don't trust anyone who looks that unbothered. But there was something in Aurora's eyes, kindness, and a spark of something Sarah hadn't felt in a long time. Spontaneity. "I'm Sarah," she heard herself say. "And honestly, I'm desperate enough to say yes." Aurora laughed, bright and light as wind chimes. "Desperate is my favorite kind of passenger. Come on, let's get you where you need to go." Inside, the van looked like a traveling art project. Dream catchers dangled from the rearview mirror. The seats were draped in vivid fabrics that seemed collected from every corner of the world. "This is unique," Sarah said, easing into the passenger seat. "Life's too short for beige cars," Aurora replied, turning the key. The engine purred to life. "Where to?" "Riverside Elementary. And thank you. You're actually saving me." Aurora shot her a curious glance. "Teacher. School counselor. I have a meeting with a parent who already thinks I'm incompetent. Being late won't help." "Incompetent?" Aurora's eyebrows lifted. You don't know me," Sarah protested, cheeks warming. "No," Aurora said. "But I know that look. Like you've been holding the world up so long you forgot how to stand without it." The words landed harder than Sarah expected. She turned to the window, watching familiar streets slide by in a blur. When was the last time anyone had really looked at her? Not as Emma's mom, not as the counselor who always had the answers, but as herself. "Sorry," Aurora added softly. "I overshare. Apparently I was born without a filter." "No, it's fine. You're not wrong." They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes, sunlight warming Sarah's face. Out of the corner of her eye, she watched Aurora hum along to music only she could hear, fingers tapping the steering wheel like she was conducting something invisible. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said suddenly. "Go for it. Why did you stop?" "Most people would have kept driving." Aurora considered. "Because I used to be you. Different story, same exhaustion. Someone stopped for me once and it changed everything." "What happened?" "That's a tale for another day." Aurora's smile turned secretive. "Let's just say the universe has good timing, even when it's annoying." They pulled into the school parking lot faster than Sarah would have liked. She wasn't ready for the ride, and whatever it was stirring in her, to end. "Thank you," she said, opening the door and grabbing her bag. "I can't tell you how much this helped." "Wait." Aurora reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a small card. "I teach art classes at the community center on weekends. If you ever want to try something different. Their fingers brushed as Sarah took the card. A quiet jolt shot through her, sharp and unexpected. I don't really do art, Sarah said, but she didn't let go of the card. Everyone does art, Aurora replied. Some people just forget how. As Sarah walked toward the school entrance, she turned back. Aurora was still watching her, that enigmatic smile lingering. For the first time in years, Sarah felt seen. Not for the role she played, but for the person underneath. She had no idea that missing that bus had just upended everything she thought she knew about herself. The conference went better than she'd braced for. Mrs. Henderson barely mentioned Sarah's lateness, too busy dissecting her son's reading levels. But all through the meeting, Sarah's mind kept drifting to paint-stained fingers and wind chime laughter. Her hand repeatedly brushed the card in her pocket like a lucky charm. At lunch, in her small beige office lined with motivational posters, Sarah turned Aurora's business card over and over. Community Art Collective, where creativity meets soul. A phone number. An address she didn't recognize. Earth to Sarah, a familiar voice said from the doorway. Janet stepped in, holding 2 cups of coffee. Neat bob, sensible blazer, dependable smile. Where Sarah's life felt like a balancing act over a pit, Janet's was a stable staircase. You look different, Janet said, sinking into the chair opposite her desk. New lipstick? Secret lottery win? Tell me everything. I missed the bus this morning, Sarah said. And that's good because? Sarah hesitated. How did she explain that a stranger's kindness had jolted something awake in her? That for 20 minutes in a yellow van, she'd felt more alive than she had in months? A woman gave me a ride, she said finally. She was interesting. Janet's eyebrows shot up. Interesting how? Please tell me you didn't just climb into some random person's car. She seemed safe. She teaches art classes. Sarah lifted the card. Art classes, Janet repeated in the same tone she'd use for snake charming. Since when do you care about art? I don't. I didn't. I don't know. Sarah studied the flowing script. There was something about the way Aurora had looked at her, like she wasn't just furniture in her own life. Sarah Martinez, Janet said, leaning forward. You are the most practical person I know. You meal prep. You color coordinate your sock drawer. What's really going on? Before Sarah could answer, her phone buzzed. Mom, staying after school for drama club. Home by 6. Love you. Emma drama club? When did Emma start drama club? Sarah murmured. Janet raised an eyebrow. You tell me. You're her mother. Guilt stabbed through her. When had she gotten so busy keeping their life running that she'd stopped noticing it changing? I think I've been sleepwalking, Sarah said quietly. At night? Because that seems unlikely with your schedule. I'm serious, Janet. When was the last time I did something just because I wanted to? Not because Emma needed it or because it was responsible or because it fit on my calendar. You're a single mom, Janet said gently. Responsibility is the job description. That's not a flaw. But what if it's become one? Sarah stared at the bland poster on her wall about reaching for your dreams. What if I'm so focused on surviving that I forgot how to actually live? The words hung there, heavier than she expected. She hadn't even said them to herself before, let alone out loud. This is about Van Lady, isn't it? Janet asked. The art teacher? Maybe. Sarah exhaled. She just seemed so free. Like she wasn't afraid of anything. Or maybe she doesn't have bills and a kid and a job that depends on her showing up, Janet pointed out. Don't romanticize chaos. Sarah nodded, but something in her bristled. Yes, she had responsibilities. Emma came first. But when had taking care of everyone else started meaning she didn't get to take care of herself at all. The rest of the afternoon blurred into appointments and paperwork. When she left the building, she automatically headed for the bus stop, then found herself drifting 1 block over, past the community center. The old brick building, draped in ivy, glowed softly in the late afternoon light. Through a large front window she could see movement, brushes, clay, people in conversation. A gray-haired woman laughed as she swept blue paint across a canvas. A teenage boy bent intently over a lump of clay that might become a dragon. And in the middle of it all moved Aurora, energy radiating off her like sunlight. She floated from student to student, demonstrating brushstrokes here, mixing colors there. Her hair was coiled up with a paintbrush. Her apron looked like a pallet exploded on it. As if sensing a gaze on her, Aurora glanced toward the window. Their eyes met. Her face lit up, and she waved enthusiastically. Heat rushed to Sarah's cheeks. She lifted an awkward hand in return, then hurried toward the bus stop, heart hammering for reasons she refused to examine. On the ride home, watching the community center recede, she made a decision that startled her. She was going to take an art class. The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. She had no talent. Her artistic resume topped out at helping Emma with elementary school crafts. But Aurora's words echoed, "Everyone does art. Some people just forget how." Maybe she'd forgotten. Maybe it was time to remember. When Sarah walked into their apartment, Emma was at the kitchen table, humming over her homework. Dark hair in a messy ponytail, pencil clutched in a determined fist, Mini Sarah concentrated. "How was drama club?" Sarah asked, kissing the top of her head. "Awesome. We're doing Into the Woods. I tried out for Little Red." Emma's eyes sparkled. "I think I nailed it." "That's wonderful." Sarah sat down. "When did you decide you wanted to try theater?" Emma shrugged. "Always kinda wanted to. I just thought you wouldn't have time to drive me and stuff." The comment hit like a blow. Her daughter had been shrinking her dreams to fit inside Sarah's limits. "Emma." Sarah turned fully toward her. "You can try anything you want. We'll figure it out. Even if it's inconvenient." "Really?" Emma asked, searching her face. "Really?" That night, after Emma was asleep, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with Aurora's card and her laptop. The Community Art Collective website was surprisingly professional. The schedule listed a beginner painting class on Saturday mornings. She could drop Emma at Madison's for a sleepover Friday night. 3 hours that were hers. For no one else. Before she could talk herself out of it, she texted the number on the card. "Hi, this is Sarah, the one who missed the bus. I'd like to sign up for the Saturday painting class." The reply came almost instantly. "Sarah, I was hoping I'd hear from you. Class starts at 10. Wear something you don't mind getting paint on. Can't wait to see what you create." Aurora Sarah stared at the message, heart beating fast. She didn't create things. She organized chaos. She fixed messes. But maybe, just maybe, she could learn. Saturday dawned gray and drizzly, perfect for blankets and books. Instead, Sarah found herself standing outside the community center at 9:55 in her oldest jeans and a faded Charity 5K t-shirt, hands trembling around the doorknob. The art room was brighter than the hallway, even under clouded skies. Canvases lined the walls in various stages of becoming, abstract color storms, careful bowls of fruit, blooming flowers. The air smelled like paint and something else. Possibility. "Sarah." Aurora's voice cut through the murmur. She appeared from behind an easel, overall straps askew, grin dazzling. "You came." "I said I would," Sarah replied, though she'd almost turned back twice on the short walk from the parking lot. "Saying and doing are different beasts," Aurora said. "I get stood up by nervous first-timers all the time." She tied an apron around Sarah's waist, fingers brushing against her back. The casual contact sent a small, disorienting thrill through her. "Ever painted before?" Aurora asked. "Does finger painting with Emma count?" "Absolutely. Some of the greats started with finger paints." The class was small. Margaret, the gray-haired woman from the window, wielded her brush like she'd been born with it. A young man, David, worked on what looked like a dog portrait. 2 college-aged women whispered and giggled over their shared palette. And then there was Sarah, standing in front of a blank canvas that suddenly looked accusatory. "Today," Aurora announced, "we're painting emotions. Not objects or landscapes, just feeling. Think of something that makes you feel strongly: joy, grief, rage, love, and let that guide your brush." Sarah stared at the white rectangle, panic rising. Emotions were not colors. They were private, shapeless, messy. "I can see you thinking too hard from here," Aurora murmured, appearing at her shoulder. "What are you feeling right now?" "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "Excellent. Terror's fun to paint. What does it look like inside your head?" She closed her eyes. Dark, jagged, cramped, like her chest when she woke at 3 a.m. worrying about money, Emma, everything. "Trapped. Sharp. Dark," she said. "Paint that." Aurora said simply. Don't make it pretty. Make it true. Sarah picked up a brush, dipped it in black, and made a hesitant stroke. It felt wrong to be deliberately messy. Bigger, Aurora encouraged. Fear isn't polite. It doesn't stay in the lines. Sarah exhaled and let her hand move. Black slashes. Deep purple streaks. Swirls of navy. The canvas filled with tangled darkness that felt uncomfortably honest. What makes the terror less powerful? Aurora asked quietly. Sarah thought of Emma's laugh. Sunlight on her kitchen counter. The quiet satisfaction of helping a student through a crisis. She reached for yellow. Dabs of light appeared amid the chaos. Then orange, warm like laughter. Pockets of brightness that didn't erase the dark, but changed it. Beautiful, Aurora murmured. You're a natural. It's just scribbles, Sarah said, but she couldn't drag her eyes away. The painting wasn't pretty, but it was her. Art isn't about perfect lines, Aurora said. It's about honest ones. This is very honest. As class went on, the tightness in Sarah's chest eased. The rhythm of brush to canvas was oddly soothing. Colors blended on their own terms instead of hers. She watched Aurora move through the room, bantering with Margaret about color theory, helping David capture his dog's soulful eyes. One of the younger women, Jessica, sat frozen in front of a muddy brown disaster, blinking back tears. I can't do this, Jessica said. I'm not artistic. I should just quit. Aurora crouched beside her. Jessica, look at me. Her voice was gentle, firm. Art isn't about being inherently good. It's about being brave enough to make a mark at all. This. She gestured at the canvas. It might not match what's in your head, but it exists now because you made it exist. It's ugly. Says who? Aurora challenged. Who wrote the rulebook on ugly and beautiful? That texture? Those weird color blends. She pointed. That's interesting. That's alive. Slowly, Jessica's shoulders loosened. Her sniffles turned into a shaky laugh. Sarah realized then what Aurora really did. She didn't just teach people how to move paint. She taught them how to see themselves differently. When class ended, Sarah was reluctant to go. Her painting was unfinished, but it felt like a conversation she just started having with herself. You can take it home, Aurora said, helping her lift the damp canvas. Let it dry. Add to it. Bring it back next week if you want. Next week. You are coming back, right? Unless you secretly hated it. Sarah looked at her paint-streaked hands, at the chaotic canvas that mirrored her insides more than she wanted to admit. I didn't hate it, she said. Good, Aurora replied. I have a feeling you're just getting started. Driving home with the painting buckled into the passenger seat like a fragile passenger, Sarah felt lighter. Emma texted asking to stay for dinner at Madison's, and for once Sarah didn't feel guilty about the extra time to herself. She felt grateful. At home, she propped the painting against the kitchen counter and stared at it while brewing coffee. In her own space, the image took on more meaning. The darkness held the years after Emma's father left. The nights she'd cried in the shower so Emma wouldn't hear. The anxiety over rent and food and childcare. The bursts of yellow and orange were Emma's belly laughs, first steps, first day of school. Job offers, small victories, survival. And beneath all of it, almost imperceptible, was something she hadn't let herself name. Hope. Her phone rang. How was Picasso camp? Janet asked when Sarah answered. Good, Sarah said slowly. Really good. Did you make anything? Sarah looked at the painting again. Yeah, I did. What is it? I'm not sure, Sarah said. But it's mine. After they hung up, she thought about Aurora's line. Art isn't about being good or bad. It's about being brave enough to try. Maybe that wasn't just about paint. 3 weeks later, Sarah was purging old files when Principal Williams knocked and stepped into her office. His expression was the neutral smile he wore when he was about to make someone's life harder. Sarah, I have a proposition for you, he said, lowering himself into the chair opposite her. She braced herself. Our spring fundraiser committee just lost its coordinator, he continued. We need someone who can step in quickly. There's a small stipend, and it would look great on your resume. She was already stretched thin. Between counseling sessions, Emma's growing activity list, and Saturday art classes that had become the highlight of her week, The last thing she needed was another project. But stipend meant extra money. Emma's clothes were getting tight. The car had started making that ominous rattling noise again. What would the job involve? Sarah asked. Organizing the silent auction, coordinating with vendors, managing volunteers. The event is in 6 weeks, so it'll be intense. But if anyone can handle it, you can. Her mind automatically began constructing timelines, checklists, contingency plans. This was what she did, take chaos and turn it into structure. I'll do it, she heard herself say. Excellent. He smiled, relieved. I'll have Mrs. Patterson send over the files. Oh, and we've already booked entertainment. A local artist doing live painting. Very trendy. Some Aurora something? Runs classes at the community center. Do you know her? Sarah's heart skipped. We've met. That afternoon, instead of heading straight to the bus stop, she walked to the community center. She told herself it was for logistics. The flutter in her stomach suggested otherwise. She found Aurora in the studio, humming while she washed brushes. Evening light poured over her, turning her curls into molten gold. Sarah, Aurora said, face brightening. Twice in 1 week? I'm spoiled. Here to work on your masterpiece. Actually, I took on the school fundraiser. You're our live painter. Aurora laughed, that familiar sound that tugged at something deep in Sarah's chest. Caught. I volunteered when I heard it was for arts education. Total sucker for a good cause. You didn't mention it. You didn't mention you were running the whole show, Aurora countered, eyes dancing. They stood there, looking at each other, awareness humming between them like a live wire. For weeks, Sarah had been explaining it away as admiration or gratitude. Standing here now, she wasn't so sure. So, Aurora said, setting her brush aside. What do you need to know? They spent nearly an hour going over event details. Aurora would set up in a corner of the gym, painting throughout the night. The finished piece would be auctioned off at the end. What will you paint? Sarah asked. I never decide ahead, Aurora said. I wait to see how the room feels. That's half the thrill. That would terrify me, Sarah admitted. I plan everything. I need to know the ending first. I know, Aurora said softly. Even noticed. There was something in her tone that made Sarah's pulse jump. What? Sarah asked, defensive and curious all at once. Can I ask you something personal? Aurora said. Sarah nodded. When was the last time you did something spontaneous? Just because it made you happy. Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it. Before Emma was born? Before her ex walked out? She truly couldn't remember. I don't really do spontaneous, she said finally. Why not? Because I have people depending on me. I can't just do whatever I want. I'm not talking about abandoning Emma, Aurora said gently. I mean 5 minutes of pure joy. 10 minutes of silliness. An hour for no one but you. Tears stung, absurd and unwelcome. It was just a question. Not a diagnosis. I don't know how, Sarah whispered. Aurora stepped closer. Her perfume was warm and grounding, sandalwood and vanilla. Want to learn? She asked. Before Sarah could ask what that meant, Aurora took her hand. Come on. Where are we going? Sarah protested as she was towed toward the door. Trust me. They ended up 3 blocks away. In front of an ice cream shop Sarah had walked past 100 times without entering. 2 scoops, Aurora told the teenage clerk. Your most ridiculous flavors. Aurora, I can't have ice cream for dinner, Sarah said. I should make something healthy. Emma's expecting. Sarah. Aurora's voice was gentle but unmoving. It's ice cream, not a crime. You're allowed. They wound up outside on a bench, each with a towering cup. Lavender honey for Sarah, salted caramel pretzel for Aurora. The sunset painted the buildings pink. This is really good, Sarah admitted, savoring a spoonful of purple sweetness. See? No apocalypse, Aurora said lightly. They watched people drift by. A couple with a stroller. An old man with a tiny dog, teenagers on skateboards laughing too loud. Can I tell you something? Aurora said. Sure. I used to be married. Sarah almost dropped her spoon. Aurora had never mentioned a husband or anyone. What happened? He wanted me to be his version of artistic, Aurora said, looking down at her melting ice cream. Paint pretty landscapes for the living room, take some pottery classes, decorate his life, but don't be too much. Not too messy, not too intense. That sounds suffocating, Sarah said. It was, Aurora replied. But it taught me something important. You can't live by other people's versions of you. If you do, you disappear. Sarah thought that over as they scraped the bottoms of their cups. Had she done that? Become the version of herself other people needed. Reliable ex-wife, competent counselor, steady mom. What about you? Aurora asked gently. Emma's father? He left when she was 2, Sarah said evenly. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. Wasn't ready for responsibility. I haven't heard from him since. That must have been terrifying. It was. Sarah stared at her empty cup, but also weirdly freeing. I didn't have to pretend anymore. Do you ever think about dating again? Aurora's question hung between them. Heat flared in Sarah's cheeks. Sometimes. But it's complicated. With Emma. My schedule. Everything. And you're scared, Aurora said, not unkindly. Terrified, Sarah agreed. Of what? Aurora asked. Of picking wrong again. Of someone leaving. Of Emma getting attached and then. Sarah's voice cracked. Aurora nodded. Those are real fears. But what if you're also shutting the door on something beautiful? On the walk back to the community center, the question echoed. What was she shutting out? And was fear worth that cost? At the parking lot, Aurora turned to her. One more question, she said. Sarah nodded. Are you happy? The simplicity of it knocked the air from Sarah's lungs. She was proud of Emma. Satisfied with her work. Grateful for their survival. But happy? I don't know, she said honestly. Aurora's smile held a hint of sadness. That's the most honest answer I've heard in a while. Driving home, those 3 words looped in her head. Are you happy? When had that stopped being something she was allowed to want? 2 hours before the fundraiser, the school gym looked like the opening scene of a disaster movie. The caterer had delivered the wrong appetizers. Half the auction items sat on tables without description cards. The sound system emitted a piercing whine. And Aurora was unreachable. Sarah, we have a problem, Janet said, appearing at her elbow, clipboard clutched like a lifeline. The whine never showed up. What do you mean never showed up? Sarah asked, voice already too high. I mean, the truck is not here, the boxes are not here, and the distributor says they have no record of our order. The familiar tightening gripped her chest. She'd planned this for 6 weeks, spreadsheets, backups, contingencies. And still everything was unraveling. Okay, she said aloud, forcing calm. Okay, there's a liquor store on 5th. Take my credit card. Buy whatever decent wine they have. Nothing top shelf, nothing bottom shelf. Middle. That's going to be expensive, Janet warned. I'm aware. Just go. As Janet hurried off, Sarah tried Aurora's number again. Straight to voicemail. Aurora, it's Sarah, she said, trying not to sound as panicked as she felt. The event starts in 2 hours. I'm starting to freak out. Please call me. She hung up and immediately felt guilty. Aurora was volunteering. She didn't owe anyone anything. Still, Sarah had been counting on seeing her tonight the way you count on oxygen. Mrs. Martinez, a small voice said. Sarah turned. Emma stood in the doorway, backpack hanging from one shoulder, school clothes slightly rumpled. Emma, what are you doing here? I thought you were at Madison's. Madison got sick, so her mom dropped me off. She said sorry for the last-minute change. Of course. Sarah glanced around the chaotic gym, then back at Emma's hopeful face.
Honey, I'm slammed.
The event is in 2 hours and nothing is ready. I can help, Emma said quickly. I'm good at organizing. A pang shot through Sarah. When had her 11-year-old learned to be good at organizing? When had Emma decided her job was to be useful? That's sweet, but... Mom. Emma's tone was unusually firm. You look like you're about to cry. Let me help. To her shock, Sarah realized she was right on the brink. Okay, she said hoarsely. Okay, you can help. Just for a while. Over the next hour, Emma proved alarmingly competent. She wrote description cards in careful, neat handwriting. She arranged auction baskets so they actually looked appealing. She even charmed the surly sound tech into fixing the audio problem. But still no sign of Aurora. No returned call. No text. At 6:30, with 30 minutes to spare, Sarah admitted the truth. Aurora was not coming. An emergency. A mix-up. Or maybe she just changed her mind. None of the reasons mattered. What mattered was that Sarah had promised live painting to the board, and had built the evening emotionally and professionally, around Aurora being there. "Mom," Emma said quietly, appearing at her side again. "Are you okay?"
I'm fine, Sarah Lid.
"Just stressed. You don't look fine. You look like you did when Dad left." The words sliced through her. Sarah stared at her daughter, seeing fear she never wanted to put there again. She opened her mouth to respond. "Sarah!" Aurora's voice rang across the gym. "Sarah spoon." Aurora burst through the doors, arms full of easel and canvas and paint. Her curls were wild, clothes wrinkled, cheeks flushed like she'd run the whole way. "I am so sorry," she said, breathless, already setting up. "My phone died, then my van broke down and I had to wait for a tow and then beg a ride and—" "It's okay," Sarah said. Her voice shook more than she wanted. "You're here." Aurora looked up properly, then really seeing her. "Hey, you okay? You look—" "I'm fine," Sarah cut in automatically. "Everything's fine now." It wasn't, but there was no bandwidth to unpack that. Not with parents arriving in 20 minutes. The event went smoothly on paper. The guests came. The improvised wine served its purpose. The auction lot sold for more than expected. In the corner, Aurora painted, her canvas coming alive with color and movement that somehow captured the buzz of the room. Sarah smiled, nodded, coordinated, checked off list after list. But inside she felt like she was watching her life from behind glass. Distant. Numb. Afterward, when only folding chairs and stray napkins remained, Aurora blocked her path to the storage closet. "Okay," she said. "What's going on? And don't say nothing." "I thought you weren't coming," Sarah said quietly. "I told you," Aurora began. "The van." "No, I mean," Sarah swallowed. "I thought maybe you'd changed your mind." "About the fundraiser?" Aurora asked. "About—" Sarah's throat closed around the rest. "About me. About you." Aurora finished gently. Humiliation burned her cheeks. "It's stupid. I'm a disaster. I can't even handle a school event without falling apart. I'm not your kind of person. I don't know how to be spontaneous or relaxed or happy on command." "Sarah," Aurora said softly. The words tumbled out faster now, a dam breaking. "I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I had everything under control, but I'm scared all the time. Scared of screwing up. Of letting everyone down. Of Emma seeing me fail. And tonight, when I couldn't reach you, I realized how much I've been counting on you. On our friendship. And that scares me too." Aurora stepped closer. Paint stained her fingers. Concern shadowed her dark eyes. "Look at me," she said. Reluctantly, Sarah did. "You're not a disaster," Aurora said. "You're human. Humans fall apart sometimes. Humans need help. Humans can't control everything, though trust me, I've tried." "But Emma needs me strong," Sarah protested. "Emma needs you real," Aurora countered. "She needs to see that struggling doesn't mean failing. That asking for help is okay. That not having all the answers is allowed." "I don't know how to be that person," Sarah whispered. "Then we learn," Aurora said. "Together." The word together sent a tremor through her. It suggested future. Continuity. More. "Aurora, Mom." Emma called. "Can we go home now?" Sarah turned. Emma stood a few feet away, watching with that same observant gaze that reminded her so much of herself. "Yes, sweetheart," Sarah said. "One more minute." When Emma moved off, Aurora touched Sarah's arm lightly. "This isn't over," she said. "But go home. Sleep." And Sarah. "Yeah. You did an amazing job tonight," Aurora said. "This was a huge success because of you." Driving home, Emma chattered about the fancy desserts and the painting everyone loved. Sarah half listened, half replayed Aurora's words in her head. "You're not a mess. You're human. Maybe it was time to stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be honest." "Mom, you've been staring at that text for 10 minutes, Emma said. Sarah blinked. She was at the kitchen table, coffee cooling, phone in hand. On the screen, want to come to my studio this weekend? I have something to show you. Aurora, it had arrived 3 days ago. She still hadn't answered. Sorry, Sarah said. Just thinking. About Aurora? Emma asked, dropping into the chair across from her in jeans and her ever-present drama club t-shirt. Sarah's head snapped up. Why would you say that? You get this weird look whenever you see her name, Emma said matter-of-factly. And you've been checking your phone like constantly since the fundraiser. When had her little girl become this perceptive? We're just friends, Sarah said. I know, Emma replied. But you like her. It wasn't a question. Sarah couldn't bring herself to deny it. It's complicated, she said. Why? Emma asked. And don't say because adult stuff. How did she explain being afraid of happiness to an 11-year-old? What if it doesn't work out? Sarah said quietly, surprising herself. What if I let her in and she leaves? What if you get attached and she disappears? Emma thought for a second. What if she doesn't? She said simply. After Emma left for school, Sarah cleaned like a woman fleeing her own thoughts. The bathroom sparkled. The linen closet was refolded and sorted. The spice rack ended up alphabetized. Her phone rang mid-towel stack. Sarah, it's Aurora, came the voice that made something inside her chest lift. I was starting to think you'd fallen into a black hole. I've been busy, Sarah said, hating how lame it sounded. Too busy to answer one text? Aurora asked lightly. No exhaustion. Just curiosity. I wasn't sure if I should come, Sarah admitted. Why not? Because I'm falling for you and that terrifies me. Because I don't know how to want someone without losing myself. Because if this goes wrong, it wrecks more than just me. Because I don't want to impose, she said instead. Sarah, Aurora said quietly. Can I ask you something? Okay. Are you afraid of me? The question startled her. No. Of course not. Then what are you afraid of? She sank onto the couch, suddenly drained. Everything, she said. My job. Messing up as a mom. This. Whatever this is between us. The words hung there. So you feel it too, Aurora said softly. This thing. Especially that, Sarah whispered. Why? Aurora asked. Because I don't know how to do it, Sarah said. I don't know how to be with someone without disappearing into them. I don't know how to want something so much without being destroyed if it ends. What if, Aurora said gently, you don't have to know? What if you just see what happens? I'm not good at see what happens, Sarah said. I'm good at schedules and checklists and controlling the variables. I know, Aurora said. But maybe it's time to try a different skill. After they hung up, Sarah stared at the unanswered text again. Want to come to my studio this weekend? It wasn't just an invitation to a place. It was an invitation to a step forward. Before she could chicken out, she typed yes. Saturday afternoon. Perfect. I'll text the address. Aurora, Saturday was thick and humid, the kind of day that made her hair rebel. Sarah stood outside a converted warehouse in an arts district she'd never visited, smoothing the sundress Emma had insisted she wear. You look like yourself, Emma had said. Just happier. The freight elevator groaned its way to the second floor. When the doors opened, Sarah stepped into another world. Light poured through floor-to-ceiling windows. Canvases leaned against walls and hung from rafters, in every size and color. Some were finished, others just beginnings. The air smelled like paint, turpentine, and something intangible. Freedom, maybe. You made it, Aurora said, stepping out from behind a massive canvas swirled with blues and golds. She wore paint-splattered jeans and a tank top, hair piled up haphazardly, paintbrush still tucked through it. This place is... Sarah turned slowly, taking it all in. Incredible. Home, Aurora said simply. Well, the real one. I sleep in a shoebox apartment upstairs. But this is where I live. She led Sarah through clusters of work. Portraits that captured something beyond features. Landscapes that looked like remembered places rather than observed ones. Abstracts that made Sarah feel emotions she couldn't name. This, Aurora said, stopping near the windows, is what I wanted to show you. Sarah looked at the canvas and forgot how to breathe. It was her. Not a literal photocopy likeness, but unquestionably her, seen through different eyes. The woman in the painting stood in profile, face turned toward a window where light streamed in. She was emerging from shadow, stepping into brightness. Her expression held a mix of wonder and hesitation, like someone seeing new possibilities for the first time. "When did you paint this?" Sarah asked, voice barely audible. "I started it the day we met," Aurora said. "When you missed your bus. I've been adding layers ever since, trying to catch." "Catch what?" Sarah asked. "The moment someone realizes they're allowed to want more," Aurora said. Sarah stared at the painting, seeing herself as Aurora saw her. Not as a tired counselor or overextended mother, but as a woman in motion on the edge of change. "It's beautiful," she said. "So are you," Aurora replied, so softly Sarah almost wasn't sure she'd heard it. When she turned, Aurora's eyes left no room for doubt. "I know this is complicated," Aurora said quickly. "You have Emma, your job, a million responsibilities. I know you're scared, but I can't act like this is just friendship anymore." Sarah's heart thudded. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm falling for you," Aurora said. "Have been, since that morning by the bus stop when you looked so lost and still did the responsible thing. I'm saying I look forward to Saturdays in a way that scares me. I'm saying when I saw you at the fundraiser, so scared and still holding everything together, I realize this isn't just me being dramatic. Something is happening here. And I think you feel it too." Silence stretched, filled with all the things Sarah hadn't let herself think. "I do," she whispered. "Feel it. I just don't know what to do with it." Aurora stepped closer, close enough that Sarah could see gold flecks in her brown eyes. "What do you want to do?" Aurora asked. For months Sarah had been chasing shoulds. What she should want, should do, should be. She'd forgotten to ask herself what she actually wanted. "I want," she faltered. She wanted to stop leading with fear. To stop surviving and start living. To see what might happen if, for once, she didn't run from something that felt right just because it was risky. "I want to stop being afraid," she said finally. "I want to stop acting like my whole job is not dying." "Then stop," Aurora said gently. "Not forever. Just for right now. You don't have to know where this goes. You just have to decide if you want to find out." Aurora lifted a hand, brushed a thumb along Sarah's cheek. The touch was so tender it almost hurt. Sarah closed her eyes. For once, she tried not to catalog all the reasons this was a terrible idea. Instead, she listened to the quiet, steady pulse beneath her fear. When she opened her eyes, Aurora was watching her like she was the only thing in the room. "I want to find out," Sarah said. Aurora's smile lit up the entire studio. "Yeah," she whispered. "Yeah." And then Aurora kissed her. It was soft at first, hesitant, a question. When Sarah answered by leaning in, the kiss deepened, still gentle but full of promise. Something inside Sarah cracked open, like a window sealed shut for years, letting in fresh air. When they parted, both breathless, Aurora rested her forehead against Sarah's. "So," Aurora murmured, "what happens now?" Sarah thought of Emma, her job, schedules, logistics, all the things that normally sent her into planning mode. But instead of dread, she felt something else. Excitement. "Now," she said, "we figure it out as we go." 6 months later, Sarah stood at her bathroom mirror, lipstick in hand, hands only slightly shaking. Today, Aurora was meeting her parents. A conversation she'd been delaying since they'd made their relationship official 3 months earlier. "Mom, you're going to wear a groove in the floor," Emma called from the living room. Sarah took a breath, checked herself one last time and joined her. Emma sprawled on the couch, math book open, pencil between her teeth. She'd adjusted to Aurora's presence with a grace that humbled Sarah. Cautious curiosity had become real affection. "Nervous about Grandma and Grandpa?" Emma asked, not looking up. "A little," Sarah admitted, perching on the arm of the couch. "They're going to love her," Emma said. "She's impossible not to love." Simple truth spoken without drama. It made Sarah's chest ache. The doorbell rang. "That's them," Sarah said, smoothing her dress again. "Mom." Emma grabbed her hand. "It's going to be fine. You're happy. They want you happy." Sarah squeezed back. "When did you get so wise?" "I live with a therapist," Emma said. "I pick things up." Sarah opened the door to find her parents in the hallway. Her mother, Linda, immaculate as always, casserole dish in hand, Her father, Frank, slightly rumpled, carrying a bouquet. "Hi, honey," her mother said, enveloping her in a lavender-scented hug. "Look at you. Doesn't she look wonderful, Frank?" "Always," her father said, kissing her cheek. "Where's our granddaughter?" "Grandpa." Emma launched herself at him, almost knocking the flowers from his hand. "Did you bring the chess set?" "Would I dare show up without it?" he said. As they settled in the living room, Sarah watched the clock. Aurora was due in 20 minutes. Her stomach went from knots to full gymnastics. "So," her mother said, settling primly on the couch. "Tell us about this Aurora." Sarah had rehearsed answers, but they scattered like leaves in wind. "She's wonderful," Sarah said. "She teaches art at the community center. She's been teaching me to paint. She's kind funny creative. Emma adores her." "And you?" her father asked quietly. "How do you feel about her?" Sarah looked at him. At both of them. The people who'd seen her through every stage of her life. Even the ugliest ones. They deserved honesty. "I love her," she said. "I'm in love with her." Her mother's eyebrows rose a fraction, but her face stayed composed. "That's a big step," she said. "After what happened with Emma's father, are you sure?" "Mom," Sarah said, more sharply than intended. "That was 11 years ago. I'm not the same person." "I know," her mother said. The doorbell cut her off. "That's her," Sarah breathed. Aurora stood in the hallway holding a bottle of wine and a bouquet of sunflowers. Her dress, blues and greens flowing like water, made her look like she'd stepped out of one of her own paintings. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. Her smile was soft but steady. "Hi," she said quietly. "Ready?" "As I'll ever be," Sarah replied. She led Aurora inside, acutely aware of her parents' eyes. "Mom, Dad, this is Aurora." "Aurora, these are my parents, Linda and Frank Martinez." Aurora offered her hand to Frank first. "Mr. Martinez, it's such a pleasure. Sarah talks about you both all the time." "Please call me Frank," he said, shaking her hand firmly. "We've heard plenty about you two." Linda studied Aurora like a particularly interesting case study. "Aurora," she said. "Unusual name." "My mom was sentimental," Aurora said easily. "I was born at sunrise, sky full of colors. She said it looked like the northern lights." "How poetic," Linda said. Her tone was unreadable. The first hour was a delicate choreography of small talk and quiet evaluation. Aurora fielded questions about her work, her family, her plans with humor and grace. She complimented Linda's cooking sincerely, discussed local history with Frank, and helped Emma untangle a tricky equation. The tension was still there, but so was something else. Curiosity. Possibility. Later, while they cleaned up in the kitchen, Linda broke the silence. "She seems lovely," she said. "But," Sarah prompted. Her mother stacked leftovers into containers with unnecessary precision. "But nothing. She seems lovely." "Mom." Sarah set a plate down. "I know that tone. What's really bothering you?" Linda sighed. "I just want to be sure you've thought through the implications," she said. "Dating a woman, it will change things. People will talk. Emma may get questions at school. Are you prepared?" A flicker of anger lit in Sarah's chest, chased by disappointment. She'd hoped it wouldn't matter to them. That love would be love, full stop. "Mom, it's 2024, Sarah said. "The world's different." "Some parts are," her mother conceded. "Others less so." Before Sarah could respond, Aurora appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. "Sorry to interrupt. Emma wanted to show me her sculpture, but I thought I'd check if you needed another pair of hands." Linda looked from Aurora to Sarah and back. Something in her face softened almost imperceptibly. "I think we've got it," she said. "Go enjoy Emma's art." After Aurora left, Linda was quiet for a moment, then said, "She looks at you the way your father looks at me." Sarah's hands froze in the soap suds. "What do you mean?" "Like you're the center of the room," Linda said. Like she can't quite believe her luck. Her expression gentled. "I haven't seen anyone look at you that way before. Ever." "Mom." Sarah's throat tightened. "I may have worries," Linda said. "About how people will react. About Emma. About you getting hurt again. But I can't argue with your face when you talk about her. Your glowing sweetheart. Tears sprang unbidden. I am happy, Sarah said. Happier than I thought I was allowed to be. Oh, honey. Linda pulled her into a hug, smelling of lavender and dish soap. You are allowed to be as happy as you can stand. I just want you ready for whatever comes with it. Later, after her parents left and Emma went to bed, Sarah and Aurora curled up on the couch. Aurora's head rested on Sarah's shoulder, fingers tracing idle patterns on her hand. That went well, Aurora said. Your parents are great. My mom interrogated you for 2 hours, Sarah pointed out. I respect a thorough vetting process, Aurora said lightly. She'd be a bad mom if she didn't grill the woman dating her daughter. Sarah studied her profile in the lamplight. Are you sure you're okay with how complicated this is? She asked. With Emma. With my job. With my family. With people talking. Aurora turned to face her fully. Sarah, look at me. Sarah did. I have never done simple in my life, Aurora said. I'm an artist who lives in a converted warehouse, drives a van held together by duct tape and hope, and once got arrested for an unlicensed mural. Complicated is my native language. This is different, Sarah insisted. This is Emma. And I love that, Aurora said. I love that she comes first. I love that you think beyond yourself. That's one of the reasons I fell for you. She paused. Do you love me? Aurora asked quietly. Yes, Sarah said without hesitation. Do I love you? Aurora asked. Yes, Sarah said again. Do we make each other better? Happier? Yes, Sarah whispered. Then everything else is details, Aurora said. Important details will navigate together, but still details. Peace slid into place inside Sarah, settling where anxiety usually lived. I have something for you, Aurora said suddenly, reaching for her bag. She pulled out a small wrapped object and handed it over. Inside was an old brass key worn smooth. It's to the studio, Aurora said. I want you to have your own corner there. A place to paint or not paint or hide or think. A place that's yours. Sarah stared at the key. It wasn't just access to a room. It was an invitation into Aurora's world. An acknowledgement that Sarah wasn't just dabbling in art. She belonged in it. Aurora, You don't have to say anything, Aurora interrupted. Just know you always have a place with me. Both of you, she added, nodding toward Emma's closed door. 6 months ago, Sarah had been a woman missing a bus, convinced it was the worst possible start to a day. Now she was a woman in love. A woman who painted on Saturdays, laughed more than she panicked, and was teaching her daughter that wanting things simply because they brought joy was not selfish but human. Thank you, Sarah said, wrapping her hand around the key. For all of it. For seeing me. For being patient. For showing me I'm allowed to want more than just survival. Thank you, Aurora replied. For being brave enough to want it. Later, as they sat together in the quiet living room, city lights blinking beyond the window, Sarah thought of the painting Aurora had done of her. The woman stepping from shadows into light. She had become that woman. She had chosen courage over comfort, love over control. For the first time in her adult life, the future didn't scare her more than it thrilled her. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere, women stood at bus stops watching schedules and counting minutes, thinking